The champagne tasted like regret. Emma Rodriguez stood on the Metropolitan Museum terrace, watching Manhattan's elite pretend to care about charity, while cameras flashed like lightning strikes. At 25, she had perfected the art of smiling while dying inside. Emma, over here! The paparazzi swarmed like vultures. Her pulse spiked. Diego had warned her to stay invisible tonight. Their family's construction empire hung by a thread, negotiations with Japanese investors teetering on the edge of collapse. Another scandal would destroy 3 generations of work. She stepped back. Her heel caught marble slicked by October wind. The crowd pressed closer. Is your family selling the company? Panic clawed up her throat. She spun, desperate for escape, and slammed into a wall of muscle and expensive cologne. Careful there. The voice rolled through her like aged whiskey. She looked up into amber eyes that could melt steel. Sharp jaw, dark hair that begged fingers to run through it, a tuxedo that cost more than her rent. Please, she whispered, clutching his lapel. Help me. Camera flashes exploded around them. He pulled her against his chest and kissed her. The world stopped. His lips were firm, demanding, impossibly real. Heat flooded her veins. She forgot the cameras, forgot her name, forgot everything except the way his hands gripped her waist, like she was something precious and dangerous. When they broke apart, she was shaking. James Parker, he said, his voice rough. Ice replaced the fire in her blood. James Parker, the Texas oil magnate who had stolen millions in contracts from her family. The man Diego called a corporate vulture. The enemy who had bought the Brooklyn property they'd wanted for decades, turning business rivalry into blood feud. She had just kissed her family's destroyer in front of half of Manhattan. Oh, God, she breathed. His smile was sharp enough to cut. Interesting reaction. But I have to say, Miss Rodriguez, that was quite the performance. He knew. He had always known. Her phone erupted with notifications. Instagram. Twitter. The photos were already viral. Diego's going to kill me. James leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. Perhaps we should discuss damage control. My penthouse. Tomorrow night. 9 o'clock. I'm not going to your penthouse. Then enjoy explaining to your brother why his sister is on every tabloid cover in New York. He pressed a business card into her palm. The choice is yours, Emma. He disappeared into the crowd. Her phone rang. Diego. Emma stared at the card, at the circling photographers, at the wreckage of her carefully controlled life. She answered. Emma. Diego's voice was pure fury. What the hell were you thinking? 24 hours later, Emma stood before the glass tower that housed James Parker's penthouse, questioning every choice that had led her here. Diego had screamed for 17 minutes. Her mother had called from the Hamptons, rapid-fire Spanish about honor and shame. The magazine covers were everywhere. Enemy lovers. The kiss that stopped Manhattan. Love or revenge. The elevator required a key card. Of course it did. The doors opened directly into his apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Central Park like a painting. City lights scattered across the darkness like fallen stars. The space was minimalist but warm, mixing contemporary art with subtle Western touches. Punctual. I like that in a business partner. She spun. James emerged from an office, wearing dark jeans and a white shirt rolled to his forearms. Without the tuxedo, he looked younger, more dangerous. We're not business partners. We're 2 people who made a viral mistake. His smile was slow poison. Are you sure about that? He poured bourbon into crystal glasses. Blanton's. Single barrel. We'll need it. What conversation exactly? The one where I explain how this mess might be the best thing that ever happened to both of us. Are you insane? Tell me, Emma. He settled into a leather chair. How much do you know about my business dealings? I know you've been systematically destroying my family's company for 2 years. I know you bought the Brooklyn property just to spite Diego. I know you steal our clients with underhanded tactics. Underhanded? He raised an eyebrow. You mean better prices and superior service? I mean predatory pricing and corporate espionage. Your brother really doesn't like me. Diego thinks you're a cancer. And what do you think? The question caught her off guard. She studied his face, searching for the monster Diego had described. She found only intelligence and something that looked like loneliness. I think you're probably not as bad as my brother says. You're also not as good as you want me to believe. He laughed, rich and genuine. Fair enough. Now let me tell you what I think. Your family's company is hemorrhaging money because your brother is too proud to modernize. You're tired of being the perfect daughter who smiles while men make decisions. And that kiss last night was the most honest thing either of us has done in years. Heat crawled up her neck. That kiss was a mistake, was it? He stood, closing the distance between them. Every major news outlet is talking about the Rodriguez-Parker alliance. Stock prices for both our companies jumped 12% overnight. My investors are suddenly interested in New York, and I'd bet money your Japanese friends are reconsidering their position. Her mind raced. He was right. The scandal had created exactly the buzz that made investors pay attention. What are you proposing? A partnership, 6 months of public appearances, charity events, gallery openings, the kind of high society romance that keeps photographers happy and stock prices climbing. We help each other get what we want. And what do you want? He moved closer, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his amber eyes. Legitimacy in New York. Your family name opens doors money alone can't. As for what you want. His voice dropped to a whisper. I think you want to matter. To be more than Diego Rodriguez's pretty little sister who smiles for cameras. The words hit like a fist, because they were true. She had been invisible for years, watching from the sidelines while Diego made decisions about the business she loved just as much as he did. And after 6 months? We stage a very public, very amicable breakup. You go back to your life. I go back to mine. Everyone wins. Diego will never agree to this. Diego doesn't have to know the details. As far as he's concerned, his sister has fallen for the enemy, and there's nothing he can do about it. His smile was wicked, unless you tell him otherwise. You want me to lie to my family? I want you to take control of your own life for once. The challenge in his voice sparked something fierce and reckless in her chest. She thought about all the board meetings she'd been excluded from. All the times Diego had patted her head and told her not to worry. All the years she'd spent being ornamental. What's the catch? No catch. Just 2 rules. First, no falling in love. This is business, nothing more. Agreed. Second, he stepped closer. So close she could feel his body heat. When we're in public, you have to make it look real. That means holding my hand, letting me kiss you, acting like you actually want to be there. Her pulse hammered. I can manage that. Can you? His fingers brushed her cheek. Because if you can't sell it, this whole thing falls apart. She met his eyes. Try me. He leaned in, his lips a breath from hers. Then we have a deal, Miss Rodriguez. Emma, she whispered. If we're doing this, call me Emma. His smile was pure danger. Emma it is. 3 weeks into their arrangement, Emma sat across from James at a private booth in Daniel, Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant. Candlelight carved shadows across his face. Cameras flashed outside the windows. Their 3rd public appearance. The press was eating it up. You're getting better at this, James said, his hand covering hers on the white tablecloth. At lying? At acting like you don't hate me? Who says I'm acting? Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise. Maybe hope. He looked away first. The past 3 weeks had been a blur of gallery openings, charity dinners, carefully orchestrated photo opportunities. Emma had learned to lean into his touch, to laugh at his jokes, to play the role of a woman falling in love. The problem was the line between performance and reality was starting to blur. Your brother called me yesterday, James said quietly. Her stomach dropped. Diego? Told me if I hurt you, he'd destroy everything I've built. Very creative threats. I was almost impressed. What did you say? That I had no intention of hurting you. His thumb traced circles on her palm. It wasn't entirely a lie. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from Diego, family meeting tomorrow. 10 a.m., don't be late. Trouble? James asked. He wants to talk. Probably about you. Are you going to tell him the truth? She should. This was her family, her blood, but when she looked at James, at the way the candlelight caught in his amber eyes, she couldn't find the words. No, she said finally. Not yet. The relief on his face was unmistakable. Later that night, James drove her home through rain-slicked streets. The city lights smeared like watercolors. He pulled up to her building but didn't cut the engine. You want to come up? The words escaped before she could stop them. Emma. Just for coffee. We should coordinate our story for tomorrow. He studied her face. That's a terrible idea. Probably. He turned off the engine. Her apartment was smaller than his penthouse. Warmer. Books everywhere. Art she had collected from street vendors. James moved through the space like he was memorizing it. This is very you, he said. What does that mean? Real. No pretense. He picked up a framed photo of her and Diego as children, both covered in paint. You were happy then. We were a family then. Before the business consumed everything, James set down the photo. Can I tell you something? That's usually how conversations work. The Brooklyn property. The one your family wanted. He turned to face her. I didn't buy it to hurt Diego. I bought it because my father lost everything to a man like your brother. Arrogant. Entitled. Willing to crush anyone who got in his way. When I saw the Rodriguez name on the bid, something in me snapped. Emma felt the air leave her lungs. You've been punishing Diego for what someone else did to your family. Yes. That's not fair. Neither is what your brother has done to smaller companies trying to compete. Neither is the way he treats you like a decorative accessory instead of the brilliant woman you actually are. She stepped closer. You don't know me well enough to say that, don't I? His voice was rough. I've watched you for 3 weeks, Emma. Really watched you. The way you light up when you talk about architecture. The way you remember every waiter's name. The way you bite your lip when you're trying not to cry. I know you better than you think. This is supposed to be fake, she whispered. I know. We have rules. I know that too. The space between them crackled with electricity. Rain hammered against the windows. Thunder rolled across the city. James. He cupped her face in his hands. Tell me to leave, she should. This was spiraling out of control. But when she opened her mouth, different words came out. Stay. He kissed her like he was drowning, and she was air. Nothing like the performance kiss at the gala. This was raw, desperate, real. She pulled him closer, her fingers tangling in his hair. His hands moved to her waist, then her back, pulling her flush against him. They stumbled toward the couch. The bedroom. Somewhere in the tangle of limbs and racing hearts, Emma forgot this was supposed to be pretend. Hours later, she woke to find James standing at her bedroom window, silhouetted against the pre-dawn light. He had pulled on his jeans, but nothing else. His back was rigid. What's wrong? He didn't turn. I broke the rules. We both did. You don't understand. His voice was hollow. There's something I haven't told you. Cold dread pooled in her stomach. What? Finally he looked at her. His face was anguished. The Japanese investors. The deal your family is negotiating. What about it? I'm the one who convinced them to stall. I've been sabotaging the negotiations from the inside. I have contacts in Tokyo who owe me favors. I've been using them to undermine Diego's every move. The words hit like a physical blow. Emma sat up, clutching the sheet to her chest. You what? It was supposed to be business. Revenge for what happened to my father. But then I met you, and everything got complicated. Complicated? Her voice rose. You've been destroying my family while pretending to care about me? It's not pretend anymore. That's the problem. She laughed, bitter and sharp. Get out. Emma, please, get out. She threw a pillow at him. This whole thing, all of it, was just another way to hurt Diego, and I was stupid enough to fall for it. That's not true. The arrangement was real, but my feelings, your feelings don't matter. You betrayed me. You betrayed my family. James grabbed his shirt, his face pale. I'm going to fix this. I'll call Tokyo today. I'll tell them to move forward with the deal. Don't bother. The damage is already done. He paused at the door. I meant what I said. About knowing you. About everything. You don't know me at all. If you did, you'd know I would never forgive this. The door closed behind him. Emma sat in the silence, rain still falling outside, and realized she was crying. Not just for the betrayal, but because for 3 perfect weeks, she had let herself believe someone actually saw her. Really saw her. It had all been a lie. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Diego. Don't forget. 10 a.m. Bring coffee. She looked at the rumpled sheets, at the space where James had been, at the wreckage of whatever they had almost become. Then she picked up her phone and typed a message to Diego. We need to talk. I know how to save the company. The Rodriguez family conference room smelled like leather and old money. Emma stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Fifth Avenue, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Behind her, Diego paced like a caged animal. Let me understand this correctly. His voice was ice. You want me to merge with Parker Industries? A strategic partnership, not a merger. It's the only way to save both companies. After what he's done? After he's spent 2 years trying to destroy us? Emma turned to face her brother. She had barely slept. Her eyes felt raw. After what we've done too. Don't pretend we're innocent, Diego. How many smaller companies have we crushed? How many competitors have you buried with predatory tactics? That's different. How? Because we wear the Rodriguez name like armor? Because Father taught us that winning justifies everything? Diego stopped pacing. This is about him. About Parker. You've fallen for him. I haven't. Don't lie to me, Emma. I've seen the photos. The way you look at him. The way I looked at him. She corrected. Past tense. What happened? She could tell him about the sabotage. About James's confession. It would give Diego the ammunition he needed to destroy James Parker completely. One phone call to the right investors, one leaked email, and Parker Industries would crumble. But it would also destroy any chance of saving their own company. And somehow, despite everything, she couldn't pull that trigger. He was using me, she said carefully, to get close to our business. But in the process, I learned things about his operations, about opportunities we've been missing. Diego, his renewable energy division is years ahead of ours. His relationships in Texas could open markets we've never accessed. If we partner with him instead of fighting him, we both win. Or he destroys us from the inside. He won't. How can you be sure? Because I'll be there, representing our interests, finally doing what I've always wanted to do. She met her brother's eyes. Let me prove I'm more than just the family face at charity events. Diego studied her for a long moment. You've changed. Maybe I finally grew up. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and swore softly. The Japanese investors want a meeting. Today, they're considering pulling out entirely. Emma's heart raced. James hadn't been bluffing. He was already moving pieces on the board. Then we don't have time to debate this. Set up a meeting with Parker. Today. Right now. Emma, trust me. Please. Something in her voice must have convinced him. Diego pulled out his phone and made the call. 2 hours later, Emma walked into James's office building. Her hands were shaking. She hadn't seen him since she had thrown him out of her apartment. Since he had confessed to betraying her family. Since her world had shattered. His assistant led her to a glass-walled conference room. James was already there, standing with his back to the door, staring out at the city. He wore a charcoal suit that made him look like he hadn't slept either. Emma. He turned. The anguish in his eyes was immediate. I didn't think you'd come. We need to talk. Business. Of course. He gestured to the table. Business. They sat across from each other like adversaries. Like enemies. Which was what they had always been, Emma reminded herself. Everything else had been an illusion. I'm here to propose a partnership, she said, between Rodriguez Construction and Parker Industries. His expression didn't change. What kind of partnership? You get access to our network in the Northeast. We get access to your renewable energy technology and your Texas connections. Shared projects, shared profits, joint ventures that benefit both companies. And the Japanese deal? You make one phone call to Tokyo. You tell them the partnership is happening, that Rodriguez Construction is evolving, modernizing, that we're the safest investment they could make. James leaned back. What do I get out of this besides market access? You get to stop fighting a war that's destroying both of us. You get to honor your father's memory by building something instead of tearing things down. And you get me. His eyes snapped to hers. What? I'll represent Rodriguez's interest in the partnership, which means we'll be working together, closely, for the foreseeable future. Emma, after what I did, this isn't about us. This is about business. You taught me that, remember? Keep emotions out of it, and if I can't, then you'll have to learn. James stood and walked to the window. Rain was starting again, streaking the glass. Your brother will never agree to this. He already has, tentatively, pending your cooperation. He must really be desperate. We both are. James turned, and the look on his face made her chest ache. I meant what I said. About my feelings. Stop. I was wrong to sabotage your family. I was wrong to use you. But I wasn't wrong about this. He moved closer. About us. There is no us. There never was. You don't believe that. It doesn't matter what I believe. You betrayed me. You betrayed my trust. Did you really think I could just forgive that? No, his voice was quiet. But I hoped you might understand why. Understanding isn't forgiveness. I know. He was close enough now that she could smell his cologne. The scent that had become familiar, dangerous. But Emma, if we're going to work together, you need to know something else. What? My contact in Tokyo, the one who's been stalling your deal. His name is Takashi Yamamoto. He and I went to business school together. He owes me significant favors, I know. You told me. What I didn't tell you is that he's also been feeding me inside information about your company's finances. Details only someone with access to your internal documents could know. Ice crawled down her spine. What are you saying? I'm saying there's a leak in your organization. Someone's been selling your secrets, and I think it's someone close to Diego. The room tilted. That's not possible. I have proof. Emails, wire transfers. I was going to use it to finish destroying your company. But now... He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Now I'm giving it to you, because whatever else I've done, I won't watch you be betrayed by someone you trust. Emma stared at the small device. Who is it? Roberto Mendez, your family's CFO. He's been leaking financial data to competitors for 2 years, including me, Roberto, Diego's best friend since college, the man who had been at every family dinner, every celebration, who had held Emma when her father died. Why would he do that? Gambling debts. Massive ones. He needed money, and your competitors were willing to pay. Emma's hands were trembling. She took the flash drive. Why give this to me? Because you deserve the truth, all of it, even if it destroys any chance I have of you forgiving me. She looked up at him. At the man who had been her enemy, her lover, her betrayer, her savior. She didn't know what he was anymore. Make the call to Tokyo, she said finally. Tell them the deal is solid. Tell them Rodriguez Construction is stronger than ever. And then what? Then we save both our companies, together. As partners? As allies. Nothing more. She could see the pain in his eyes, but he nodded. Allies it is. Emma turned to leave, the flash drive burning in her pocket like a live coal. Emma. James's voice stopped her at the door. For what it's worth, I really did fall for you. That was never part of the plan. She didn't turn around. That's the problem with plans. They never survive contact with reality. She walked out, leaving him standing in the rain-streaked light. In the elevator, she looked at the flash drive, at the evidence that would destroy Roberto, that would tear her family apart from the inside. Diego needed to know. But telling him meant admitting she had been working with James, meant confessing her own betrayal. The elevator doors opened to the lobby. Outside, photographers were gathering, always hungry for the next shot of the Rodriguez-Parker romance. Emma straightened her spine, lifted her chin, and walked through them like a woman who wasn't breaking apart inside. Her phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Miss Rodriguez. The voice was smooth, accented, Japanese. This is Takashi Yamamoto. I believe we have much to discuss. Emma's blood turned to ice. How did you get this number? The same way I've gotten everything else I needed. Roberto Mendez is a very generous source, but I'm calling to warn you. James Parker has made a terrible mistake by choosing you over our arrangement, and now both your companies will pay the price. The line went dead. Emma stood frozen on the Manhattan sidewalk, rain beginning to fall, photographers circling, and realized the real war had just begun. The emergency board meeting felt like a funeral. Emma sat between Diego and their mother, watching Roberto Mendez present financial projections that everyone in the room knew were built on lies. The flash drive in her pocket weighed more than steel. So you see, Roberto concluded, his smile practiced, the Japanese deal may not be as lucrative as we hoped. I recommend we consider other options. Other options that would conveniently lead to more delays, more leaks, More opportunities for him to profit from their destruction. Emma stood. I have something to say. Diego shot her a warning look, but she ignored it. I've spent the last 3 months being treated like a decorative piece in this company. Smiled at, photographed, kept away from any real decision-making. But I've also spent that time learning things, seeing things, understanding how this business really works. Emma, this isn't the time, Diego said quietly. It's exactly the time. She pulled out the flash drive and placed it on the polished table. Roberto, would you like to explain what's on here? Or should I? The CFO's face drained of color. I don't know what you're talking about. Emails. Wire transfers. 2 years of you selling our financial data to competitors, including Parker Industries. Your gambling debts to the Nakamura Syndicate. Should I go on? The room erupted. Diego lunged across the table, grabbing Roberto by his collar. Security had to pull them apart. Their mother sat frozen, her hand pressed to her mouth. You son of a bitch, Diego snarled. I trusted you. I had no choice, Roberto gasped. They would have killed me. So you killed us instead. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Rooftop. Now. Come alone or I release everything to the press. Yamamoto. She slipped out while Diego and Roberto were still shouting, the board members clustering like startled birds. The building's rooftop was windswept and cold. Manhattan stretched below, a million lights against the darkness. Takashi Yamamoto stood by the edge, his suit impeccable, his smile sharp. Miss Rodriguez, thank you for coming. What do you want? The same thing I've always wanted. Control. Parker thought he could betray our arrangement without consequences. He was wrong. James ended your deal because it was built on lies and sabotage. James ended our deal because of you. Yamamoto moved closer. Love makes men weak. It makes them make poor choices, like giving you evidence that could have destroyed your family just to win your trust. You've been playing us all. Of course. Parker, your family, Roberto, all pieces on the board. But now the game is ending, and you get to choose how. What do you mean? He pulled out his phone and showed her a screen. Financial documents, emails between James and Roberto, carefully edited to make it look like James had been orchestrating everything from the beginning, like he had used Emma as a weapon against her own family. I release these, and Parker Industries collapses. His reputation is destroyed. He loses everything, or... Yamamoto smiled. You give me what I want, which is? Rodriguez Construction, 51% controlling interest. Transfer the shares to my shell company and I bury the evidence. James Parker keeps his company. Your brother never knows the full extent of the betrayal. Everyone wins. Except my family. Your family survives. Under new management. With you and Diego as very well compensated executives. Or I destroy all of you. Choose. Emma's mind raced. She thought about her father, who had built this company from nothing. About Diego, who had sacrificed everything to keep it alive. About James, who had fallen on his sword to give her the truth. I need time. You have 10 minutes. She walked to the edge of the rooftop, pulling out her phone. 3 calls. That was all she had time for. First call, Diego. Don't argue. Just listen. Get every board member to sign a unanimous agreement to transfer company operations to a temporary trust. Make it ironclad. You have 8 minutes. Second call, James. I need you to do something for me. Something that will cost you everything. Third call. Her family's attorney. That clause in father's will. The one nobody thought would ever matter. I need you to invoke it. Now. When she turned back to Yamamoto, her hands were steady. I have a counteroffer. I'm listening. You want Rodriguez Construction? Take it. Every share. Every asset. Every brick and beam. Yamamoto's eyes gleamed. You're surrendering? I'm sacrificing. There's a difference. You see, my father was a paranoid man. He put a clause in his will that if the company ever fell to hostile control, it would trigger a complete liquidation. Every asset sold, every contract voided, every penny distributed to charity, including the Brooklyn Heights property. You're bluffing. Call my attorney. He's filing the paperwork right now. Yamamoto's phone rang. He answered, his face going rigid. He listened for 30 seconds before ending the call. You just destroyed your family's legacy. I just saved my family's honor. There's a difference. What about Parker? What about him? I could still release the fabricated evidence. Destroy him out of spite. You could, but you won't, because I have something you want more than revenge. And what's that? Emma pulled out a second flash drive. The real story. Every email. Every transaction. Evidence of your involvement in corporate espionage across 3 continents. Release your fake documents, and I release these to every financial regulatory agency in the world. Or you walk away, disappear, and we all pretend this never happened. Yamamoto studied her for a long moment. Then he laughed. You've learned to play the game. I learned to burn the board. He inclined his head. Very well, Miss Rodriguez. You win this round. But understand that this means war. It always was. He left without another word. Emma stood alone on the rooftop, watching the city lights blur through sudden tears. She had just destroyed everything her family had built. Sacrificed 3 generations of work to save them from becoming something unrecognizable. Her phone rang. James. I did what you asked, he said. Filed for immediate merger with the Rodriguez Charitable Trust. All my renewable energy patents, all my Texas contacts, everything. It's done. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. You gave up everything for your family. For honor. I can do the same. James, I know you can't forgive me. I know I don't deserve it. But Emma, I want you to know that you were right. About everything. About building instead of destroying. About being more than our worst impulses. Where does that leave us? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. If you'll let me. Emma closed her eyes. In the distance, she could hear sirens. The city never stopped moving, never stopped fighting, never stopped hoping. The company liquidation will take months, she said. After that, I don't know what happens. I don't know who I'll be without the Rodriguez name as armor. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we both get to figure out who we are when we're not defined by family wars and business vendettas. That sounds terrifying. It sounds like freedom. She smiled through the tears. James Parker, are you asking me to start over? I'm asking if you believe in second chances. I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Then I'll be here, however long it takes. Emma looked out at the city, at the endless lights, at the possibility stretching before her like an unwritten story. She had lost everything familiar, but she had gained something more valuable, the truth, and the courage to build something new from the ashes. 6 months later, Emma stood in the empty Rodriguez construction building, watching movers pack up the last of the furniture. The company had been fully liquidated, every asset sold, the money distributed to charities her father had supported. Diego had been angry at first, betrayed. But slowly, he had come to understand. They had been so focused on winning that they had forgotten what they were fighting for. He was in California now, starting a sustainable housing nonprofit, building homes for families who needed them, finally doing the work he had always talked about but never had time for. Emma heard footsteps behind her. Ready? James asked. She turned. He looked different without the armor of a tuxedo and corporate power. Softer, real, ready. They walked out together, leaving the empty building behind. Outside, a new sign was being installed. Parker Rodriguez Foundation. Renewable architecture. Sustainable communities. It wasn't the empire their families had fought over. It was something better. Something they had built together, piece by piece, from the ruins of their war. James took her hand. Any regrets? Emma looked up at the sign, at their names side by side, at the promise of something they would create together. None, she said. Not anymore. He kissed her there on the sidewalk, in front of the building that had once represented everything that kept them apart. And this time, there were no cameras, no performance, no lies. Just 2 people who had learned that sometimes you have to destroy everything to build something worth keeping. Sometimes the only way to win is to surrender everything you thought you needed, and sometimes love isn't about possession. It's about sacrifice. The end.